The movie opens with a bloodied man named Sam running desperately through the woods, fleeing from a killer. He soon arrives at a cabin and immediately locks himself inside. The terrified guy then contacts his close friend Chuck, who works at a comic book store. She casually asks how his summer camp is going, but Sam responds that there is a maniac on the loose who has already murdered several of his friends. He needs her advice on how to avoid dying, and a stunned Chuck suggests Sam call a cop instead. But he says that the only sheriff in the area, who is 76 years old, didn't answer the phone. Moreover, the camp is also 25 miles away from town. When Chuck asks how many people are dead, Sam says he's not sure. Through a flashback, we see Sam and 12 others arriving at the camp, which includes Carol, Ted, Steve, Drew, Alice, and Heather. Then there's Sam's ex-girlfriend, Imani, and other members, such as Freddie, Nancy, Brad, and Jamie. They are all camp counselors for children, but Sam is in charge of everyone on this trip and takes everyone's phones away to prevent distractions during the camp. In the present, Sam tells Chuck that most of the group died in horrific ways, ripped apart, stabbed, or mutilated. Just then, he feels dizzy and hears strange voices in his head. Even worse, he smells gasoline and realizes that the killer is trying to burn down the cabin. The fire soon erupts and starts engulfing the place, so a desperate Sam hangs up and smashes through the wooden wall to escape. But unfortunately, the killer, who's wearing a hideous mask, approaches him. Terrified, Sam bolts and manages to reach another cabin, where he locks himself inside. He then receives a phone call from Chuck, and they begin discussing who might be the killer, and Chuck remembers Sam mentioning someone named Steve. But Sam insists it's not possible, and in a flashback, we see the counselors stumble upon Steve, who has been brutally mutilated and hung from the tree. This horrifying sight turns their stomachs, and Imani exclaims that she discovered Bob and Carol's bodies in the kitchen. Furthermore, Ted, Alice, and Drew are all missing. Fearing for their lives, the group decides to grab their phones and call the cops. They head to the locker where Sam had kept their phones earlier, but the killer is one step ahead and has already stolen them. Freaked out, the counselors decide to leave immediately, but it turns out the killer has also sabotaged their car engine, leaving them stuck. After a tense debate on what to do, they finally decide to fight back against the sadistic monster. They split into two teams, the defense team, charged with securing the area, and the offense team, which will set deadly traps to take down the killer. While everyone is busy, Sam goes to patrol the jungle alone. He soon stumbles upon Freddie and Nancy, arguing over whether they should stay or run. Sam tries to calm them down, but a sudden wave of dizziness hits him, and voices begin to echo in his head. And then, when Freddie turns to leave,
Holy shit!
the killer also slashes Nancy's throat and silences her forever. Up next, the killer approaches Sam, yet we still see Sam alive in the present. Chuck is stunned to hear his story and wonders why the killer didn't kill Sam. She asks if he is covered in blood, which he is. Chuck also questions why would Sam be covered in blood if he was only a witness to these murders. When she asks if he has any weapons, Sam reveals that he has a baseball bat, but when he checks it, his eyes widen with horror as he realizes he's holding the same machete as the killer. Startled, Chuck asks if Sam is sure he himself isn't the killer, so a freaked-out Sam denies it and checks his bag. But to his horror, he discovers the same mask the killer had been wearing. When he touches the mask, he hears evil voices in his head, ordering him to kill, and we see a memory crashes into his mind. He recalls chasing Steve, murdering him, and then hanging his lifeless body from the tree. Moments later, the mask falls off, and Sam calmly stuffs it into his backpack, and he suddenly snaps back to reality. Sam doesn't remember what happened and panics when he sees Steve's lifeless body. In the present, Sam is horrified to realize the truth and informs Chuck that he is the killer. He reveals that it seems the mask controls him, forcing him to commit these brutal murders. This shocks Chuck, so she goes to the storeroom and pulls out an ancient book, promising they'll figure out a way to stop this together. Chuck then advises Sam to consult his ex-girlfriend, Imani, believing she can help him. But Sam suddenly has a flashback to her lifeless body and realizes she is also dead. Overcome with guilt, he recalls their time together last summer and cries since she was special to him. Sam is horrified by his actions and decides to destroy the mask so he doesn't kill anyone else. He starts to burn it, but then his face begins to burn as well, causing him excruciating pain. He tells Chuck about the agony, and she explains that the mask has imprinted itself on him, warning that there are plenty of similar cases in the book. Just then, Sam hears noises outside and realizes it's Heather and Brad, looking for him. Sam is aware that they know the truth about him being the killer. Turns out they had tried to burn the cabin with him inside. He thus bolts from there in a desperate attempt to save his life. Soon, he finds a hiding spot in another cabin. Chuck then asks him what the last thing he remembers before all the craziness started. Sam tries to recall, and we are taken to a flashback, where the death count was just 1. He arrives at the pool, where he finds Ted and Alice having fun. Suddenly, a dark presence overtakes him, and he chops the poor guy's head in half with a machete. Sam quickly catches up to Alice and brutally drowns her in the pool. Next, he heads to the kitchen, where Bob and Carol are looking for some food. And then this happens.
All we need is chocolate.
Carol tries to escape, but Sam, guided by the voices in his head, catches up to her. Despite her desperate struggle, Carol is no match for him. Sam easily overpowers her and then slams her head repeatedly against the refrigerator door until she finally dies. Moments later, Sam regains his sanity for a moment and begs the mask not to make him kill people. He then comes across Steve, and the voices in his head mercilessly urge him to kill. In the end, Sam is completely overpowered by the evil, and he murders Steve as well. In the present, a guilty Sam recounts all this to Chuck and mutters that he should just end his own life. But Chuck assures him it's not his fault and asks how he found the mask in the first place. Through another flashback, we see the counselors gathered around, sharing stories before the massacre began. Sam steps up and begins telling a chilling tale about the land's dark history. According to him, long before the French Cajuns arrived, the natives lived here peacefully. But when the Cajuns brought their black magic, they awakened something dark and sinister. Madness took hold, and settlers began slaughtering each other until a powerful sorcerer finally trapped the evil entity within an old oak tree deep in the forest. For 100 years, it remained sealed, and the land was safe. Until one day, a woodcarver unknowingly chopped down the cursed tree and unleashed the darkness once more. He carved a mask from the wood, unwittingly binding the evil to himself. Soon after, he fell under its control and butchered his entire village, including his own family. The massacre ended only when a lone survivor, a young woman, took up an axe and killed the woodcarver. Sam then finishes his story by saying that, to this day, the cursed mask has never been found. Legend has it that it was buried along with the woodcarver's body somewhere in this very forest. Upon hearing this, the group is amused and suggests they should play a treasure hunt and try to find this mask. Sam tries to stop them, but no one listens to him and sets off into the woods. Drew then approaches him and calmly tells him that she will meet him at the woodcarver's grave. She knows Sam is aware of the grave's location, as his parents have owned this land for generations. Not long after, Sam arrives at the location of the grave, but Drew suddenly surprises him from behind. It turns out she also knew about the location, as she has been coming here for years. Here Drew begins digging around and eventually manages to find the evil mask, sending a chill down Sam. She then attempts to put it on her face while a terrified Sam warns her not to do so. Even worse, she abruptly forces the mask onto Sam's face instead. Sam begins to hear the voices in his head, urging him to kill. As a result, he grabs a machete lying near the grave and approaches Drew, and that's how she becomes his first victim. In the present, Sam and Chuck figure out that with Drew, Ted, Alice, Carol, Bob, Steve, Freddie, Nancy, and Imani, he has killed 9 people so far. Chuck then reveals that this will only end with Sam's death, as that's how things always go. But on the bright side, the killer might come back from the dead in a couple of years after lightning strikes their grave. Chuck then asks how Imani died, and Sam begins to recall that after they found Steve, they started digging holes to trap the killer. Through another flashback, we see the remaining survivors working on creating a spike pit. Finally, they all decide to split up to patrol and lure the killer out. The group then separates to cover more ground, during which Sam hears voices in his head, forcing him to put on the mask and becomes consumed by its evil. He soon notices Nancy and Freddie arguing with each other and brutally murders them, as we've already seen before. Not long after, Imani notices him and defiantly challenges him to get closer. She plans to lure him toward the spike pit. Imani then runs off, and Sam immediately begins chasing her. He soon catches up to her and proceeds to finish her off as well. For a fleeting moment, Sam hesitates, as they were once a couple and in love. But the darkness within him takes control, and he throws Imani into the pit of stakes, where she tragically meets her end. Upon witnessing this, Heather charges at Sam with a weapon, but he easily decapitates her, and the rest of the group runs away in fear. Sometime later, Sam, who had lost consciousness, wakes up and is horrified to see Imani's lifeless body. He can't recall what happened and believes a maniac is murdering his friends one by one. Terrified, he heads to the cabin and calls Chuck for help, as we saw at the beginning of the movie. In the present, Chuck asks about Jamie, so Sam explains that she's the purest, the most innocent soul in the group. Hearing this, Chuck theorizes that Jamie is likely the one who will be the one to end it all, because according to the twisted rules of horror stories, it's always those girls who survive and eventually take down the killer. However, Chuck thinks it will probably be the muscleman, Brad, who is also still alive, based on his memory. Scared, Sam takes out the evil mask and desperately tries to destroy it. He puts it on the ground and jumps on it, but it's useless. He begins to scream in frustration, which catches Brad's attention from a distance. Unfortunately, Sam hears the voices again, and despite his best efforts to fight them off, he's compelled to put on the mask. Just then, Brad approaches with a bat to launch an attack. But Jamie witnesses this, she cries and runs away from there. Sam then hangs up the call, causing Chuck to lose connection with him. Later, Jamie is frantically searching for a place to hide when someone grabs her from behind. To her shock, it turns out to be Imani, who is still alive. Imani reveals that she had played dead so Sam wouldn't come after her anymore. The two girls then rush to the storeroom and gather tools to use as weapons. But then all of a sudden, evil Sam shows up, so Imani kicks his ass, and the two lock themselves inside. Sam tries to attack them through metal bars and manages to retrieve the door keys that had fallen to the ground. Unfortunately, he manages to open the door, but Imani strikes him with a shovel. The girls quickly run outside, locking him in the storeroom. Sam then removes his mask and returns to his normal form. He desperately tries to convince the girls that he didn't intentionally kill anyone and that it was all because of the evil mask. But they don't believe him, thinking he's just making up lies to escape. Feeling helpless, Sam calls Chuck, who explains the entire situation in detail to the girls. She also tells them about the legend, where the survivor will be the purest and innocent girl. In this case, it is Jamie. But this revelation offends Imani, leaving her questioning why she couldn't be the pure soul. Meanwhile, Sam starts hearing the voices again and desperately tries to grab the mask. The frightened girls flee into the woods with his phone, while Sam breaks down the wooden wall and chases after them. On their way, Imani and Jamie begin arguing, with Imani insisting she should be the survivor. Chuck warns Imani that no matter what they do, they can't escape the inevitable events. But Imani is desperate to live and decides to attack the other girl. Unfortunately for her, Jamie reacts first and hits her with the shovel multiple times, ultimately killing her. She then informs Chuck that she had no choice but to kill Imani, who was moments away from attacking her. Suddenly, Sam appears in the distance, and Jamie decides to kill him with the shovel. But Chuck argues that the final battle must happen at the place of power, which is the woodcarver's grave. Jamie obliges and rushes to find the grave, dropping the phone in the process. Meanwhile, Sam stumbles upon Imani's lifeless body and returns to his normal self. He ultimately removes his mask with immense pain and sobs over the loss of his ex-girlfriend. He then notices his phone on the ground, with Chuck still on the call. Here Sam informs her that he knows how to destroy the evil, and there's no need for a deadly confrontation between him and Jamie. After this, he hangs up the call and makes his way to the grave with determination. Soon enough, Sam and Jamie meet again, but Sam, now free from the mask's grip, reveals that he has it in his bag and intends to destroy it. He insists neither of them has to die and pleads with her to come with him to the woodcarver's grave. After some consideration, Jamie decides to trust him. They make their way to the grave, where Sam decides to bury the mask. But he doesn't trust himself and gives the backpack to Jamie to take care of it. Next, Jamie begins digging a hole while Sam turns his back, as he doesn't even want to see the mask. He pleads with her to simply dump it into the hole without even touching it. The girl obliges and begins to bury the mask. But still, the curious girl decides to check on the mask. As a result, the evil voices erupt in her mind, urging her to kill. In a moment of weakness, she places the mask on her face, succumbing to its dark power. On the other hand, Sam asks her to let him know when she finishes burying it. But Jamie doesn't respond. And then this happens. In the aftermath, Jamie removes the mask. She then receives a phone call from Chuck on Sam's phone, and Jamie reveals that Sam is dead. She did what she needed to do. The news strikes Chuck hard, but deep down, she knew this was inevitable. In the end, Jamie walks away from there with the mask. The scene then cuts to 2 years later, where Chuck receives a call, and to her shock, it's Sam in a panicked voice. Turns out Sam has risen now from the dead, just as Chuck had once theorized. Thus, we reach the end of this movie. Thanks for watching. If you like the movie, support us. Don't forget to subscribe for more movie recaps. See you in the next movie. Goodbye.